Hi, everybody. This is Virginia Milner coming to you for the DeKalb County Public Library, and we have another program for you today, obviously. So I have kind of gotten away from my love of scrolling and spirals, and I have got to go back to that because I love them. They're such a nice, beautiful way to embellish a piece of jewelry and make it beautiful. It looks a lot more intricate than it is, but it just looks beautiful. It's not very heavy. And I wanted to do a necklace. I'm calling it my SOS necklace because we're going to use a spiral S shape and a big O in the center. And we're just going to make it an SOS. I'm calling it Cypher Chic. I don't know why I've gotten so I want to name them all of the pieces that we do, but it's just fun. Anyway, so all you need for this, it's very, very simple. All you need for this is 20 gauge wire. You can also use 18 gauge wire. I probably wouldn't go any smaller in thickness than 20 gauge, but 18 will make it a lot thicker, which would also be nice. But I'm using 20 gauge wire, two colors, and some 4 millimeter beads. That's it. That's the whole thing. I started to leave the beads out because I did the chain and it was so beautiful with nothing, but I would have had to link it together with jump rings, and I just thought the beads would be prettier. So 20 gauge wire, I'm using 4 millimeter stone beads. What am I using today? I'm using malachite. Gorgeous contrast. And that's all we need in addition to our normal tools, our round nose pliers. The barrels are round all the way around. They start wider at the bottom and taper up to almost a tip at the top. Then we have our square nose pliers that are slightly rounded on the outside. They're also start wider at the bottom and taper up to the top. If you buy these in the store, make sure that there aren't any grips on the inside, those little ridges, because that will chew up your wire. You don't necessarily want that. Then you'll need a pair of wire cutters. These are flush cutters. They don't have to be flush cutters. They can be this kind of cutter. Any kind of wire cutters will do for this project. You also need, I'm using this small cross pin. You need some kind of a cylindrical item. It doesn't have to be too thick. So you don't want to go as wide or as big as a standard ink. Well, you can go a small ink pen. What I found that's about the same size as this pen that I'm using is those round number 2 pencils, not the ones that are kind of squared off, but the round number 2 pencils are about the same size. It just doesn't need to be too thick. I used this because it turned out the same size as my little spirals did. So you can use your own judgment on that. You can also use the largest part of your round nose pliers. That was just a little bit small for me, about half the size of this, and I wanted it a little bit bigger. But whatever kind of a cylindrical item that you can get that wraps around here, if I, you know what, let me measure it real quick, and I will tell you what the circumference, what circumference I'm using. And then you can use your own judgment. So I'm just wrapping this little piece of wire around here. So the circumference of my pen is 1 1/8 inches. That's my pen. You'll also need a ruler, and that's it. I tried different size ink pens, and that was the size that worked for me. 1 1/8 around works just fine for the size that I want. If you want bigger ones, that's fine too. So I think that's it. We've got our pliers, we've got our ruler, we've got our cylindrical item for shaping, our O that goes in the middle of our SOS. We have our 20 gauge wire. I already said that. That's it. So let's go ahead and get down here to the mat and get started. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is cut some wire, and no, I'm not advertising for Apostito. It just happens to be where I got that. Anyway, so what I'm going to need for my S links is going to be 2 inches of wire. I've already got one cut here. So I need 2 inches. And for my O, I need 3 inches. So cut those. So in order to make my S, I'm going to grab my round nose pliers. Right here on the tip, I'm just going to grab the tip of my wire with the tip of my pliers because I want a very small loop. So I'm going to start my loop, and you're going to have to really be patient with that starting part. And I'm going to start around. And notice how I'm also using this hand to curve around. I don't want my wire to touch. I'm making a nice open spiral. That's right out there. There we go. Just keep spiraling. Just like that. Just keep going. Until I have a nice little spiral. Maybe a little bit further. Just a smidge. And I like to go until my straight part of my wire down here that's just curving right around my loop is right across from the tip. So there's my tip. And there's where I'm going to stop. Then I'm going to go to the other side and do the same thing in the opposite direction. So I'm going to grab the tip of my wire with the tip of my pliers. And again, I'm using both hands. I'm curving around with both of them. Put a nice curve in there. Yes, just keep going. Got a little bit, that right there got a little sharp, so I'm going to fix that. I don't want it to be a sharp bend. There we go. Straighten that back out and continue. It's getting a little close here. Okay, and it's going to stop right over here. Right there, just past my little tip. And then I'm going to go here to the other side. And I'm going to curve it just a little bit more. And do both sides until they're about the same size. And this is a very organic piece, so each one of these is probably going to look slightly different. We're not working on an assembly right here, and we're not doing something automated. We're doing something very, very freeform. So just be aware of that a little bit more. There we go. Nice. There's my little S. Let's do another one. Okay. Grabbing the tip of my wire with the tip of my pliers. And making my first little loop. Just keep going. There we go. Just a little bit more. And again, the wires are not touching. They're just the little walls of the wires are slightly separated. So I have a nice open spiral. A little bit more. And you can also switch to your square pliers if you want to, if you'd like to do that. Again, I'm stopping right here just across from my little tip, kind of catty corner to it. And I'm going to go to the other side and continue. Now, I am going to go back to that and probably add a little bit more to the curve, but I don't want to um, spiral one side and then have to take it apart. I'd rather do part of it, and then if I need to, go back and add to it. And again, see how I'm curving with this hand and twisting with this hand. It's a hard thing to explain. It's one of those things that you kind of have to get the feel of. And it takes a little bit of practice. Okay, so there's my curve. There's my little tip. Let's take a look. A little bit more. A little bit more. Spread that a little further apart so it matches the other side a little bit better. That looks good. I have a little bit of a sharpness here again, so I'm going to fix that, straighten that out and recurve it. And I just take my pliers, squeeze it until it's straight, and then recurve. And that doesn't hurt anything. In fact, it helps strengthen your wire a little bit, which is always a good thing. Let's get that up there. Using my fingers, you can use your square pliers, you can use your round pliers. Okay, give this a little bit more of a curve. And make whatever adjustments you need to make. Open that up a little bit. There we go. That's better. And then just make whatever adjustments. This one can be a little bit closer, a little bit further over. There we go. And like I said, as you can see, these are a little bit different. I'm going to curl this one up a little bit more. This one's really fighting me. It's kind of good because I know it's not going to come apart. I'm just strengthening. The more I work with it, the more strength I give my wire, which is good. There we go. Snip that down so it's nice and flat. And one thing that you can do to strengthen your wire is just take your pliers and work it over the wire a little bit. And there is my little S. So there are my little S's. Yay. Now, somebody had asked me about hammering. It's something that you can do. I don't like to tell people that they need an anvil and a chasing hammer because those can get a little bit pricey, especially if you don't use them very often. But you can also go to like your dollar store, and I'm always bringing out my little dollar store mallet, and you can use that to kind of pound it a little bit to strengthen your wire. It will not change the shape of the wire. It won't flatten it out. It won't give it any additional texture, but it will condense the molecules so that your wire is stronger. So you can do that after you have made your whatever your design is. I'm going to do that a little bit, but just be warned that it cuts off the sound. My computer, for some reason, doesn't like loud noises, so it will shut the sound off. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of a tap. Okay, so that really helps strengthen your wire a little bit stronger already. But again, it won't change the form of it or anything. It may cause it to kind of pop out of shape. So you can go back in and reshape if that happens. Just give it a little tweak. And there we go. So now we want to make our O's. Now I have my S's. I need to make my O's. So what I'm going to do for that is give myself just measure about a half an inch from the tip of my wire. I'm going to take my cylindrical item, let that little half an inch kind of hang over to the side, and I'm going to wrap the rest of it around my cylindrical item. I've got 3 inches here. It's more than I need, but it makes it a little bit easier to wrap. I'm going to wrap it around one full time and then back around until both of my wires are running parallel, just like that. So that's what I have. One side has 2 wraps on it and the other side has 1. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this down until they're even. That little tip is too short for me to hold on to. So I'm going to grab my little spool here and I'm going to just cut that down in there and let it hang out. So then what I want to do is go right here to the center of my loop, and I want to bend this wire until it's sticking straight out. So I'm going to grab, you can either use your finger, I'm going to show you both ways. I just use my fingernail right here in the middle of my loop, and I just bend straight out, just like that. Then I'm going to go to the other side, and you can either use your pliers, round or square. And right here into the center again, I'm going to give myself a good sharp bend. I don't want it to be round. I want a good sharp bend. Until now I have both of those sticking out both sides. Now I can see this one is a little further over than this one, so I'm going to rebend it. I'm going to go ahead and straighten that back out again. And just move over just a fraction. from that bend and bend it again. If I can grip it. There. Oh, come on. There we go. Just turn it straight out. There, much better. There. Still a little bit off, but I'm not going to worry about it. Get it as close as you can. I think I am going to worry about it. I'm going to bend it back again and redo it. A little further over. There, much better. Okay, so now I'm going to cut them both down to about 3/8 to 1/2 inch. I don't need too big a loop, but I need to make a loop. I'm going to cut it down to about 1/2 inch. This is very short, but I'm going to go ahead and put my finger here. Now, if you put your finger in front of this wire when you're cutting, make sure it's right on the tip and that you don't push your hand in the direction of your finger. Otherwise, you'll puncture yourself. You have to be very steady and just cut. See how it stuck right in my finger? You do not want any distance between your finger and the wire that you're cutting so that it has momentum to propel itself into your finger. That would be a very bad thing. Let's go to the other side and snip that down just a smidge. I'm going to use this guy. Makes it less hazardous. Okay, let's put that out of the way. Don't want those little tips all over the place. And now I just need to make a loop. These little pieces of wire. So I'm going to take my round nose pliers. I'm going to slide my wire down about 1/4 of the way of my pliers. And what I do is just kind of eyeball it. That's 1/4, another fourth, another fourth, and another fourth. And I just make a nice little loop. I'm just going to make a simple loop. My wire is not the tip is not sticking out. I can't feel it. I'm just going to rotate them. I'm just going to rotate my pliers slightly. Then I'm going to open them and reposition them back and give another rotation. And I'm going to keep doing this until I have a loop. Just like that. Then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, going in the same direction. Now, the one thing you don't really want to do is this, because you don't have as much control as you do if you do this in small increments. I mean, you can do it. If it works for you, go for it. But I've found that you end up with a very wonky looking loop. Okay, so there are my loops. These are my connectors. This is what I'm going to connect to my S's. How much simpler can that be? Let's do that right now. So I'm just going to open up my little loop, just kind of lift it off to the side, attach it to my S. Now, it's supposed to be an S, so it needs to be going in S shape from right to left. And I'm going to slide that on. And I slide it on the side because it needs to go down here in this space. And you need enough space for that to rest down there comfortably. So let's slide that on. No, come on. Let's get on there. I might need to open it just a little more. Nope, there we go. And then I'm going to close it back up. Make sure it's completely closed. Here we go. And then I'm going to go down here because I don't want this sliding up here. I'm going to go back in with my square pliers and I'm going to roll that until that little loop is just close enough so that this can't get away. And roll it up just a little bit more. There. So now it's safe. Let's go to the other side and hook the other side. So I'm going to open that up just over to the side. Just tweak it and slide that on. And go ahead and close that up. Just twist it back the opposite direction until it's closed. There we go. And there is my SOS. Here's my little SOS link. Make any corrections that you feel that you need to make any adjustments. There it is. Isn't that neat? So now what I need to do is link that together with another link. I've already made 2 more S's. So what I'm going to do is make another O. Since I showed you 2 S's, I'm going to show you 2 O's. So I'm going to go ahead and give myself about a 1/2 inch of wire sticking out the side here. And I'm going to wrap the rest of it around my pin or whatever cylindrical item that you're using. Wrap that until the wires are sticking out opposite directions, and then bring that larger, longer side back around until it is running parallel with the shorter one. There we go. Slide that off my pin. Cut these down to about the same size. We're going to be cutting them again, but I like to keep them even. It makes it easier for me to keep up with. Cut that off. Okay, make my little bend right here in the middle of my loop. Did I use this the last time? I'm going to show you how to do it with your round nose. I've shown you how to do it with your fingers and your square nose. Do the same thing with your round nose. Let's turn that straight up. Got a little bit out of whack there, so let's fix that. You can just put it back on your cylindrical item and get the shape back the way it was. There we go. Go to the other side and do the same thing. Just go ahead and make your little bend. Get that straight out to the side. Yes, there we go. Get over there. There. And now I just need to make my loops. Snip that down a little bit. That's a little long. It doesn't need to be that long. Down to about 1/2 inch. The other one looks pretty good, so we'll keep it. Grab my pliers, slide my wire down about 1/4 of the way down my pliers, and make my loop. Close that up. Very good. Go to the other side and do the same thing. And I want both of my loops going in the same direction. So let's be aware of that. This one's got a little bit of the neck. It's a little further away than I want it to be. So I'm going to just snip a little bit of that off on the inside. Just a little bit of that loop. I'm going to snip it down. So now I have a little open space. And I'm going to reclose it. until that extra space is gone. There we go. And I told you that I was using 2 colors. Yes, so there's my second set of SOS link. Open that up, slide it on my S, close it back up. Make sure it's nicely closed. Do the other side, open it up. Slide it on my little S. And close it. You always make sure that everything's nicely closed. You don't want it, since we're not wrapping, you want to make sure nothing's gonna slide out. So there are my 2 SNSs. Make whatever adjustments you need to make. Notice that I did not, well, you could have pounded this if you wanted to, but make sure you do it before you make the loop. On the O, you want to make sure you do it while the wire is straight out, if you want to pound it. So there we go. We're going to link these together. How are we going to do that? Well, I guess we have to make something else. So what I'm going to do is take a nice little 4mm malachite bead. If I can get it out of my little package. Yeah. Come out, come out, come out, come out, come out, come out. There you go. So I'm going to make just a little link. It's just gonna be my attachment for both of these. I only need about 1.5 inches because I'm just using little 4mm, and they take up less than 1/4 of an inch of space. So what I'm going to do is just measure off about 1/2 inch from the tip. I'm going to bend the wire back. Now, make sure you give yourself a sharp bend. If you're using your fingers, use that fingernail to make a sharp bend. If you're using your pliers, make sure you bend it sharply, and I will show you what I mean. Boom. This is not a round bend. It's a very sharp bend. Very slightly rounded, but also very straight. Okay, so now I'm just going to make a loop. Sliding down again about 1/4 of the way down my pliers. I'm going to make a little bit of a loop. And there's my loop, but I have a neck. And I don't want a neck. So I'm going to cut a little bit of my loop off, just a small amount, and I'm going to reclose. And you might have to do this a couple of times, which is fine. You just don't want to cut too much off. Cut little bits at a time. Then I'm going to go back in to that 1/4 of the way down my pliers mark. I see people doing this and closing it up from here, meaning that you're going to make your loop smaller, and you don't want that. Go back to the 1/4 of the way mark and reclose. There we go. Just the tiniest bit off, not enough to worry about, but I'm going to go ahead and just do a tiny little snip and close that up again. Going back down to that 1/4 of the way mark, close it. And there's my loop. Very nice. Let's get rid of these little pieces of wire. So now I'm going to put my little bead on. I'm just putting one on there. This is a little longer than it needs to be because I cut 2 inches by mistake. And now I'm going to make my other loop on the other side. Now, excuse me, if I have one loop going this direction on one side, I make my other loop going the opposite direction on the other side. I just find that it's more balanced. It's not necessary to do that, but I just think it looks better. So I made this loop going this direction. I'm going to make this loop going this direction. So this one's going away from me. This one's going to go towards me. So in order to make my loop going towards me, I need to bend the wire away. Like that. I'm going to cut it down to my 1/2 inch. See, I had a whole extra inch that I didn't need. And I'm going to make my loop down 1/4 of the way down my pliers again. Tip is not sticking out, and just small rotations until I have a loop. I have a little bit of a neck. Do I? I need to open that up and make it a smidge bigger. That might take care of that little neck. There we go. And I want these to be going in the same direction. That one's going that way. This one's going kind of up and down. So I'm just going to twist it until they're both going the same direction. So this is my connector for my little links. And again, I'm using 2 colors. You can use whatever colors you want for your little bead link. I just decided to go with the copper. You can alternate it, copper and silver, or copper and bronze, or copper, or whatever colors you end up with in your kit. But this is the way I'm linking. So now I want to make sure that my S's are going in the direction of S's. So I like to lay that down, open up my little connecting bead link, and then just slide it in there. Then I don't have to think about it. Slide it in there, close it up. Go to the other side, do the same thing. Open that up. And slide it in and close. There we go. And there's my connector. Yay! We're going to have to do this again in a bracelet because, come on. Okay. Anyway, so now that we have our little connectors, I'm going to bring out the rest of this and put it all together. Yes. So I've got my little connector here. Gonna open it up. Slide it on and close. Isn't that beautiful? There's my little SOS. There's my little SOS. Yes. So pretty. And this is so very lightweight. I wanted something that was very filigreed but not heavy because we are in summer. So I wanted something that was really pretty like that, but wouldn't weigh you down. So now all I need to do is make another one of these guys. And then I'm going to make a clasp. We're going to make our own clasp. Why not? May as well. So let's make another one of our little bead lengths. And again, I only need about 1.5 inches. There we go, 1.5. Again, that bead is only, it's less than 1/4 of an inch, and you only need 1/2 an inch on each side. So 1.5 is plenty. So I'm going to go ahead and put bend in my wire, nice and sharp. Go, make my loop. Slide my wire down about 1/4 of the way down my pliers. Make sure the tip's not sticking out. Start my little loop. Small turns. I have a little neck. Now, there's another way that you can fix that. If I don't want to cut off, I can just straighten the wire back out. And rebend. So just put my pliers back in and rebend. There we go. Not too shabby. I find it easier to do the clip method, but I also like to give you options so you can decide what works better for you. That's straight. Let's grab my bead, put it on. See what I meant about you need to, trying to find the hole in these malachite stones is hilarious. See how much extra I have to cut off? I hate that, but it is what it is. Put my little bend in my wire, nice and sharp. This one's going this way, so this one's going to be going the opposite way. That's my choice, not necessarily what you have to do. It's just my preference. I like the way it looks. Cut that off at 1/2 inch. Get rid of that little sliver of wire. Slide my wire about 1/4 of the way down my pliers. And make my loop. Got a little neck there. Let me check the other side. This loop is a little bit bigger, so I'm going to go back in, open that up a smidge, scoop down, and reclose and see if that takes care of it. Better, but not perfect. So I'm going to go ahead, clip a little piece off, and now go back in, slide that down that 1/4 of the way, and reclose. There we go. Make sure they're both going out to the side, from side to side. And let's add that to the end of my necklace. Open that up, slide it on. And close. Oops. I opened it up. Let's do that again. Open. Slide it on. And close. There we go. So this is where we are. So now I need to get these S's going the right way. So now I just need to make my clasp. Got my necklace. I need a clasp. Okay. So I'm just going to make a very simple clasp. I want to put beads on it because I'm making it so simple. So what I'm going to do is grab a couple of beads. Right. And what color do I want to make my clasp? We're ending on copper, so I think I'll make it silver. So I just need about 2 inches of wire for my loop. Is that 2? Fingers keep sliding. There we go. And I'm going to make a simple loop again and just attach it to this. So I'm going to go ahead and bend my wire back about 1/2 inch from the end, just like I've been doing all along. Make my little loop. A quarter of the way down my pliers again. I know I keep saying the same thing over and over, but it makes it easier to remember if it's being repeated, right? Straighten that out. Off. Slide down that quarter of the way and reclose. Here we go. I'm going to put a bead on. And I'm going to make another loop. Now this loop is going from side to side, so my other loop is going to be going front to back. I'm going to bend in my wire like so. And this is going to be wrapped. I'm actually going to wrap this side. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger because this is what your hook is going to go into. So I need enough space for my hook to fit into. So I'm going to go about 1/3 of the way down my pliers. For that, I'm going to bring the wire over the top, make sure it's going in the right direction. This way. Bring it over the top and down the side until it hits my beads. Then I'm going to hold on to everything, open my pliers up, reposition them, and then slide that wire between the pliers and the bead, just like that. It's a little better. Okay. So now I have a little loop, but I'm going to make that loop just a little bit bigger. Slide it down a little bit more. And that looks good. And now I'm going to wrap my loop just to secure it. And I only need to wrap it around 1 time. It doesn't need to be super wrapped. I'm going to wrap it around 1 1/4 times, and then I'm going to cut it off. If I wrap it 1 1/4 times, by the time I cut this as close as I can and push down the tip, it's actually 1 1/2 times around. Okay, so I'm going to push that little tip down. I like to go from the back and just kind of follow it, the direction that I have been winding. So there we go. There's my little loop. Make sure it's nice and straight. There we go. So this is going side to side, and this is going up and down. Let's put that to the side. Now let's make a hook. So for that, I'm going to take 2.5 inches. Might be too much, but that's okay. 2.5 inches. Snip that off. And I'm going to give myself about 1 inch from the tip. I'm going to put a nice sharp bend in it, like so. Just bring it till the wires are running the same direction, running parallel to each other. And then I'm going to squeeze those 2 wires together. Don't want them to cross over like that. So I'm going to hold on to that and squeeze them together. Like so. Then I'm going to go down here to the bottom. Get this side by side. See how they're trying to cross over? I don't want you to do that. Get over here. There we go. So I'm going to go down here to the bottom and I'm going to bend my wire straight up. So my wires are going this way, side by side. I'm going to bend this tip straight up about a little less than half an inch from the bottom. But I just want a small wrap around both wires. So I'm going to take my flat pliers. I'm going to hold on to both of those wires side by side. And I'm going to wrap that tail around that stem. Now it's very short. So I'm going to use my pliers and just curve it around the wire. And I'm using my pliers as a guide. I don't want it drifting up this way. I want it nice and close to the pliers. Let's give myself one curving wrap around. That I didn't want to do. I'm going to turn it. There we go. And then I can push the rest of it down with my square pliers. There. All right. And I'm just making a very small hook. So what I'm going to do now, I like to have the part where the little tip is under my hook. So that's over here. There's a little tip. So I'm going to bend right here at the top of my loop of my little wrap. I'm going to bend the wire back, keeping this straight. You don't want that to bend. I just want to bend this part back a little bit. Then I'm going to grab my round nose pliers right here at the tip of the double wire. I'm going to put a little bend going in the same direction of the bend that I just made, just like that. Then I'm going to take my pliers right there and at about the halfway mark, maybe a little less because I'm making a tiny little hook. I'm going to wrap my wire around until that tip touches the rest of the wire. There we go, a little hook. Then I'm going to grab my bead because I like beaded clasps. I'm going to slide that on and I'm going to make a loop. My loop is going to be going from side to side. So my hook is going up and down. My loop is going to go side to side. I'm going to snip that off. And again, I'm going to wrap this. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this side. I wasn't going to, but I've changed my mind. So I'm going to slide this down about a quarter of a way, just like we've done all along. Bring that tail over the top and down the side. Reposition my pliers and bring that tail between the pliers and the loop. I'm going to switch over a little bit. I'm going to switch over to my round pliers. I mean my square pliers. And I'm going to wrap this little tail around the base of the bead, just above my just between the bead and the loop. So here's my loop. There's my bead, and I'm going to wrap it in between. And again, I'm just going to go 1 1/8 times around, or 1 1/4 times around. Then I'm going to snip off that tip until it's nice and close to the rest of the wrap. And then I'm going to push down that little tail. There. Good. There we go. So there's our little clasp. That's going to hook in there. So all I need to do is open up my little open loop here. Open that up, slide 1/2 of the clasp on, close it. And then on the other side, I'll open it up. And slide the other clasp on. I'm going to slide the non-wrapped side on. Close that. And there we go. And let's try it on. Let's try it on. There we go. Yes. Isn't that pretty? Oh, wow. I'm looking at it in the camera. It's absolutely stunning. I love it. Yay. Okay, let's try it on a form and see what we've got. There it is. There is my necklace, our necklace. Well, I love this so much. I'm trying to get it good. You there? Oh, isn't that pretty? It looks like it's falling off in the opposite direction of where I want it to go. Oh, because I've got it going the wrong way. Let me switch this around. It's going to be, looks kind of weird for a second, but there. Now I can see what's happening. Okay, so here is our necklace. And that I have not done this much spiraling in a while. And I've really, honestly, if I'm being honest, I've really missed it. So I'm glad I got a chance to do this. It's not heavy. The back has its own beauty with the um, beaded, with the beaded clasp. We have the little beads in between linking each of our SOS links together. And that's it. Oh, that's so pretty. I love it. I hope you like this because I do. I really love this, and I hope that you enjoyed this and enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope that you'll make one of these. Please let me know what you think one way or the other. You can get in touch with me at jewelrygen20@gmail.com. That's jewelrygin20@gmail.com. You can leave me comments and pictures at the Facebook page, facebook.com/DeKalb library. Or you can leave me comments at the library YouTube page, which is youtube.com/DeKalb County Public Library. You have to write up the whole thing for the YouTube page. And you can leave me comments there. I really love to hear what you have to say, good, bad, and indifferent, so that I can hopefully make some improvements. if necessary. So let me know what you think, what you thought, what you would like to see. I've been collecting suggestions on things that people would like to see. There are some things that people would are saying I did years ago that they'd like for me to do again, or that I did in a classroom that they'd like me to do on a tutorial, so that they'll have it forever. So I'm looking into that. I'm looking into the possibility of doing that. But until next time, I hope that you have a great week and a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.